Okay, it's officially time for another A to Z mini rework. My thoughts, ideas, changes, so on and so forth. We are on MALPHITE, Shard of the Monolith. That's a very interesting title you got there, bud. Damage, magic, true. Style, mostly ability, very true. Difficulty 1, extremely true. Crowd control 3, toughness 3, mobility nothing, and damage nothing. This is lies. This is lies and slander. Utility, yeah, absolutely nothing. Damage should be 2, mobility should be 2. I don't care who has to say what about that. It's just a fact. He does way too much damage for a tank. And his ult, which is what gives him his mobility, is just wrong. It's just wrong. Besides that, yes. Crowd control 3 and toughness 3, very true. A massive creature of living stone, MALPHITE struggles to impose blessed order on a chaotic world. Birthed as a servitor shared to an otherworldly obelisk known as the MONOLITH, he used his tremendous elemental strength to maintain and protect his progenitor, but ultimately failed. The only survivor of the destruction that followed, MALPHITE has endures Runeterra's soft folk and their fluid temperaments, while struggling to find a new role worthy of the last of his kind. Yeah. Going to his abilities, Granite Shield. MALPHITE is shielded by a layer of rock which absorbs damage up to 10% of his maximum health. If MALPHITE has not been hit for 10 seconds, this effect recharges. Okay, yeah, so first things first, just why? Because, like, it's literally Rakan's passive, but better in every way. Rakan's passive has a set cooldown that decreases, I believe, when he hits things. Then MALPHITE, just don't get hit for 10 seconds. That's not difficult at all. Based off of his maximum health, Rakan's shield is based off of his ability power. He's a support that builds basically no ability power, meaning his shield is fucking tiny. But MALPHITE, based off his health, yeah, that's great. Not like he just gets a ridiculous size shield or anything. Okay. Seismic Shard. Using his primal elemental magic, MALPHITE sends a shard of the earth through the ground at his foe, dealing damage upon impact and stealing movement speed for 3 seconds. This ability is ridiculous. It's point and click, which I hate. It takes your movement speed, which is annoying, and it gives it to him, which is stupid. A extremely healthy tank should not steal your movement speed and then give it to himself. It's just, why? It is so stupid. And the fact that, he could just click on you with this ability over and over again and just keep hitting you with it. Thunderclap. MALPHITE's attacks with such force that it creates a sonic boom for the next few seconds. His attacks... Sorry about that. His attacks create aftershock in front of him. So basically it just makes all of his autos have AoE and scale off of AP. So, it's really nothing that insane, but it's just annoying and still painful. Ground Slam. MALPHITE slams the ground, sending out a shockwave that deals magic damage based on his armor. Yeah, that's brilliant. As damage, and reduces the attack speed of enemies for a short duration. Just why? Why does all of his things need to do so much stuff? Unstoppable Force. MALPHITE ferociously charges to a location, damaging enemies and knocking them into the air. So this is what I'm talking about. yeah, like, as if that distance, you know, a whole flash distance, isn't enough movement for him to get to. Plus, you know, he gains movement speed after making you get slowed. Just doesn't make sense to me. Then he can lower your attack speed, and just to make everything all the much better, the damage it does is based off of his armor. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but he only builds armor. So it's not like that's really a problem. And Thunderclap, like, yeah, it's not really anything strong with him, but okay, let me just have the Tiamat as an ability. It's just stupid because, like, he doesn't need to build Tiamat and he gets the same thing. He can now build just straight armor and then one-shot people. It's just stupid. And, like, the outplay potential with it is just nothing. Just, like, you automatically outplay someone. Hit land your R. It's not difficult to land. It's insanely quick. It shouldn't be as quick as it is. And, yeah. So, honestly, I think MALPHITE needs a bit of, like, a full... not a full rework, but, like, a pretty sizable rework, to be completely honest. He's just a very old... A lot of the difficulty 1 champions I feel this way about, but, like, you shouldn't be allowed to do the things that you do on MALPHITE. You just shouldn't be allowed to do it. All of his things are extremely bare bones basic. You can't really dodge his R. It's just that difficult. You physically can't dodge his Q. His E's AoE slam. His W is just on his auto attacks. His passive is just a broken shield. Like, let's give that to Rakan. Like, don't take damage for 10 seconds. Automatically get the shield. Like, I don't think people would be very happy about that. I don't think this should be okay. So, if I did have something to do with MALPHITE, like passive or like reworking MALPHITE, honestly, I'd keep the passive basically the same, but not exactly. I'd give an actual cooldown to it and make it like Rakan's, to where damaging enemies, like lowers the cooldown, and I'd give it a base cooldown, and yeah. Then, I do think that he does need some sort of slow. But I would think that, you know, it should actually be something along the lines of a skill shot. Sort of similar to kind of like Ornn. To where I believe he should, like, slam the ground, and then a little line will go out in front of it, and then a rock will, like, dash up from, like, the ground, pushing people to the side and slowing them if they are hit by it. Something along that line, to be truthful, I think could be much better. I don't think he needs to gain movement speed from that, though. I don't think that's necessary at all. And then, honestly, because it's MALPHITE and he's supposed to be some sort of, you know, like, rock elemental, I think he should have some sort of capability of detonating rocks. It's gonna sound a little interesting, but, like, I think his W should be something along the lines of, like, upon activation, he can, like, click a rock, or even, like, something that's already a part of the map, and then, like, it will just cause a burst to come from it, either in, like, an actual line or an all-around AoE, and he can click both, like, allied and enemies, such as if a Nivea throws up a wall around him, he'll actually be able to just, like, blow it up and then cause an AoE pulse around it doing damage. If Jarvan ults him or something, he'd be able to activate this, and then it would actually destroy Jarvan ult and cause an AoE pulse to damage the people around him, and that damaging pulse can also potentially do something along the lines of a slow as well. Then I do think that he should have a higher form of CC. So honestly, I would make his his E kind of like a mixture of his alt and something with like Volibear's Q, such as I'd have it do a small like little dash, and it'll kind of be like this little slam that it is currently, such as his E would actually turn into he'd slam the ground around him, just doing a little pulse around him, just doing damage. We can keep it being based off of armor, because I do think he should do at least some damage. And then his next like auto attack after that will allow him to actually like pick up and throw the enemies, and like either he can just throw them straight up into the air, or he can actually throw them behind him, being like an actual Volibear. So yeah, so what he'd be able to do is, hit his Q, the rock would come up, he'd hit his E, it'd slam the ground, he'd throw them like back into it, or like something along that line. And then honestly for his R, I would have it do something a little different, of just as that whenever he's like in a rocky surrounding area, he gains movement speed. Not as like a passive, like you'd be able to activate the ability, and then it will increase like his maximum health for a small duration, and then increase his movement speed based off of like the rocks around him. Such as if you're fighting like the jungle and you activate the ability, it would count like 2 or 3 different walls. If you're fighting in lane, it would only count like 1 or 2. And then you can throw in other things, as I said, if a Nivea or a Jarvan, or he uses his Q, or MALPHITE uses his Q, it would do something along that line. To be truthful, I'd actually prefer his Q not to just be like a small boulder, but like I think that might work out better for how I'm picturing things. But it'd be more of an Nivea Q, but as like a skill shot at the same time, such as you'd slam the ground, it'd send out like a pulse, kind of as if it was like a Swain Q, and then like all the rocks would shoot up at like the max duration. Something along that line. So basically, like your W would be able to, you'd be able to pick a surface, and then a pulse would come from there that would just do damage and slow. His Q would be able to, he'd be able to make a wall, but as like a skill shot from him, send out like a pulse that does damage, and then it would do like little rocks in the ground. And if you're near the rocks and they'd shoot up, then it would slow you. Your E would basically be combining your E and your R, where you'd slam the ground, sending out a pulse, doing damage. And then your next auto attack, you'd throw the enemies up straight into the air. And then your R would be, you'd activate it, and then you'd gain increased movement speed and like armor based off of the more rocks that are around you. And then we could also throw in like what your current W is, and make it so that all of your auto attacks are like AoE. So you're just kind of like mixing up his abilities. You're adding in a few new elements, as I said, with like the rocks being able to actually like explode around him, and keeping a few of his older elements and just adding in a few new things. So as a quick recap, his passive basically be the same, only balanced out. His Q would just be the skill shot that also makes a wall. His W would be something very new and unique, where like the rocks can actually like send out a pulse around him, kind of like Kiana R, only a little different. His E would be the same with the pulse, but then it would have a second effect where he'd throw enemies into the air, knocking them up with this next auto attack. And his R would be a much larger movement speed boost that would also make his auto attacks have a AoE effect. And then let's head on to his skins. So we have the Shamrock MALPHITE, which I think is stupid. The Coral Reef MALPHITE, which I think is stupid. Marble MALPHITE, which I still think is stupid. Obsidian MALPHITE, which I think looks pretty cool, but eh. Glacial MALPHITE, which is definitely the coolest we've seen so far. Mecha MALPHITE, which I very much do actually like. Ironside MALPHITE, which is another skin that I very much like. Odyssey MALPHITE, which I do like, but I don't think it's great. And that is all of his skins. So out of all of them, I would definitely put Mecha at Mecha not at the top, but actually I would actually put Odyssey at the top. Mecha's right beneath it, with Ironside, and then Glacial right beneath that. Obsidian, Marble, and just go straight in line. Like, they only really got better with his skins. Going from like Glacial, and like this is the only ones that I'd swap around to be like, what's better and worse. I definitely put like this is a 1, 2, a 3. Throw this up at 5. Give this a solid 6. Ironside 7. Mecha 9, and Odyssey. Or no, Mecha 8, and then Odyssey has a 9. I really don't think he has any skins that are just great all around. That's just a solid 10 out of 10. I think that these skins are definitely good, and that his newer skins are fantastic. But I don't have a skin that really sticks out that I like really love above all others. I do think if I had to buy like a skin immediately right this moment, I'd probably pick either Odyssey or Mecha. But yeah. So that has been the recap on MALPHITE. I definitely think that he needs to be changed. Him gaining the movement speed off his Q is just stupid. The damage that he deals, honestly, is so much more than you'd think any MALPHITE was going to be able to do. His ult is basically impossible to dodge, and it's just not a good balanced ability. And I don't like the CC that he has. And I do wish that they like actually branched off more on him being this living stone and having like the things that I was saying a moment ago, where like he can cause the rocks around him just implode. Honestly, I think if he had a kit that was a bit more like Orin, it'd make more sense, to be completely honest. But yeah, so that is MALPHITE, the Shard of the Monolith. If you agree or disagree with any of the things that I said about him, please leave a comment down below. I will gladly get back to it. With any regards that you have to say, or any other champions, or if you have any ideas, yet again, please leave a comment down below. I will gladly get back to it as soon as I see it. And yeah, with that, I'm going to thank you all very much for watching this A to Z mini, my thoughts, ideas, changes, so on and so forth. And I'm going to bid you all adieu. Goodbye.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming